Yes, ma'am. File item 13, we're going to start as a subcommittee because we do not have a quorum yet. Okay. Show us what you got.
Over here. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'd like to start by saying that I absolutely and wholeheartedly accept the committee amendments to add the chair as principal co-author, so thank you very much. Members, the benefits of an early education are very well documented.
Doesn't mean I'm going to vote for the bill.
That's okay. I'm still happy to have you as principal co. Although the state provides access to early education programs, our counties are still struggling to meet the demands of current enrollment trends. Due to understandable budget constraints on preschool programs, there are too many families vying for too few spots for their children. According to current rates, there are over 200,000 children awaiting state preschool slots in California. More needs to be done to ensure that families seeking to take advantage of the benefits of early education are able to access these opportunities. AB 1161 is a creative, bipartisan solution that creates more early education opportunities for the neediest of students by harnessing the power of the private sector. This public-private partnership would put our students on the right path in school and in life by preparing them for academic success and ultimately ensuring that they are better prepared for the workforce. Specifically, AB 1161 creates a 5-year pilot program in which businesses would be provided with a tax credit for a contribution into a newly created California Preschool Investment Fund. This program is fully self-supporting and has no impact on Prop 98 or other programs because CalPIF would be required to reimburse the general fund for the cost of all tax credits and administrative fees. 5 counties would be chosen by the Department of Ed based upon factors such as the length of the county's wait list of individuals seeking public child care assistance, its ability to increase the number of preschool slots available to children in the county, and its economic need. I have with me today Ray Burnell from the California Catholic Conference to speak on the merits of AB 1161.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Ray Burnell. I'm with the California Catholic Conference, and we strongly support AB 1161, which will expand investments and opportunities for early childhood education with a preferential option for the poor. It enables the state preschool system, which is a viable mixed delivery system, to have added resources to care for those who are left on the waiting list. The state has made substantial contributions to expand the opportunities for preschool, and what 1161 would do, it would increase private philanthropy and charitable contributions to truly merge together the private sector with the public sector in expanding these opportunities. We think that this is a great solution, a way to expand those opportunities, and we look forward to working with the author and the committee as we move forward. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Others in support? Any opposition? You know, do you have a question, Senator Morley?
Oh, sorry, I was scratching my head, but yes, I have 3 or 4 questions.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you want me to?
No, absolutely. You're the important guy in this committee. You ask away.
Assemblywoman Olson, I am having some difficulty with this. The first is that we've got so many tax credit proposals, and I'm having difficulty with that as a CPA. I just wonder how we all, you know, after all these go through, what happens to our model, our tax gathering.
Can I answer that question?
Well,
Can I answer that question? Because the reason I want to make principal call, here's why I think it's so important and why I asked to be a part of this measure. We are asked here every day for these tax credits, and we continually and appropriately ask the question, well, if you're going to spend the money on this, why don't you spend this versus something else, right? Well, what we learned from preschool, when I left government, I spent 2.5 years in Los Angeles and put together the LA Up program with the former First Lady of Los Angeles, Nancy Reardon. And you know what you learn from that is that these dollars are so valuable in terms of getting kids in early, changing their lives, reducing other costs on society. It really is an extraordinary payback in terms of all the other things that we spend money on. And the earlier you intervene with these kids, the earlier you get them in school, it's really important. So I would suggest that it's a priority, huh?
I don't argue that at all. I'm just trying to figure out a tax credit for this, a tax credit for that, a tax credit.
Well, it's tax credits for the good ones and no tax credits for the bad ones.
You're not helping me.
I will try.
Would you please?
Although
Sorry, I should
it's a
have,
statement
I
of fact.
apologize, I should have just used respond. I'm
Not
so
at all. I
sorry.
appreciate your response.
Strike that from the record, please.
I appreciate your response. I understand the concern about the number of tax credits that we offer in the state of California, but I believe that this is one worthy of such a program. It is fully self-supporting, as we indicated, so there's no impact to the general fund whatsoever. And, you know, I would advocate, probably along with you, and I know along with the chair as well, for tax reform. I do think wholesale tax reform is overdue in the state of California, and that would be an opportunity to look at the myriad of tax credits we offer, and is there a better way through lowering marginal tax rates, et cetera. That's an ongoing conversation I've had with folks actually for the last 5 years. Nevertheless, we haven't been able to advance the ball forward yet on tax reform, and so we're dealt with the status quo, and within that context, I think it makes good public policy sense and good sense economically to be able to offer a tax credit to expand the number of early education opportunities, because it's clearly shown in data that the economic impact on the state and on communities is positive by investing in early education programs, not only to those students' lives and success, but to our long-term economic success.
Someone decides to make a contribution, and they get a rather substantial tax credit, 40%. I mean, it's rather remarkable. So that money goes to the state, so it doesn't cost the state, well, it does cost the state something. So show me that.
Look at the analysis on
Right.
page.
It doesn't cost the state because it has to reimburse the general fund for all administrative costs, as well as fees, as well as the tax credit itself.
And then why did you choose this route as opposed to maybe another checkoff on the Form 540?
Well, for a number of reasons. I think that it's more likely to be used in this way, and I have not seen much evidence that the checkoff programs on the 540s lead to much revenue. And if this program works and really takes off, it's an opportunity to capture a lot of revenue through a public-private partnership to expand these programs that have such great positive impacts on children's lives as well as on our economy. So that was why. I just haven't seen the checkoffs deliver on the revenue need.
How do you market it?
How do you market it? Well,
How do you solicit funds to this?
Well, the Department of Education and the Franchise Tax Board would be working together to implement the program. Counties would be responsible for applying for proceeds related to the fund by next June of 2016. And at that point, you know, it would be up to the Franchise Tax Board, to the Department of Education, to all of us as individual legislators to get the word out to our counties about the opportunity to receive these funds. And so I would imagine there would be areas of the state where it would be marketed more than others. But the first step would be for the Department of Education to determine which 5 counties the program will be piloted in. And then the marketing efforts could really focus in those 5 particular areas.
And you mentioned in your opening remarks that you were going to solicit businesses for contributions.
Correct.
What does that mean? Could you elaborate?
So the fund would be available for businesses to invest in, and they would be the ones to receive the tax credit.
Okay. Ms. Olson, may I?
So would that be corporations or
Could be
partnerships?
Any and all.
Have tax credits? And
right. Did you want to add, Ray?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to filter and get this through my CPA.
Hey,
grid,
ask
so I
away, you're
apologize.
entitled.
Senator, if I may, about 40% of the nation right now uses the creative use of tax policy to benefit public and private education. This is focusing in on early childhood education because of its immense impact back to the entire system. And those individual public and private providers, whether they be a public school district, a community-based organization, an independent private provider, they seize the opportunities to market to their donors, to their contributors. And what we have found across the nation with this type of approach is that the smaller businesses are more inclined to give. And so when you look at the large corporations, when you look at the Gates and the large foundations, they have a tendency to make charitable contributions in the educational arena at a lower rate. The smaller businesses, the neighborhood businesses, are given this added incentive. And part of the conference, the Catholic Conference's position here is the principle of subsidiarity, bring it local and close. And if we can expand the neighborhood support in these targeted counties, then we'll be able to learn from that. But those individual private providers and those public providers will be the principal source of marketing and have been quite successful around the country.
Could you give me like an example or two of other organizations?
Well, Florida is the largest preschool, using tax incentives. Pardon me?
FORD?
No, Florida, the state of Florida.
Florida, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry.
And they just do it there, so we're kind of...
They have a slightly different model, okay, in the sense that they provide education tax scholarships where you give to a charitable organization who then in turn provides scholarships for preschool. This is unique in the sense that you're giving into a new state fund in order to offset the costs to the state of California. But Florida has the most expansive system. This would be a very creative system along the lines that Senator De Leon did for higher education in the last session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And just as the analysis indicates that the De Leon measure AB 1161, I guess, no, I'm sorry, SB 798, is that what it is? Raised $6,199,289 in donations.
Yes.
Okay. Before I call, did I call for opposition? I can't recall. Did I do that? If I didn't, but before I do it, let me just establish a quorum. Secretary, you can call the roll.
Hertzberg.
Here.
Hertzberg present. Nguyen. Here. Nguyen present. Bell. Here. Bell present. Hernandez. Hernandez present. Laura. Morlock.
Present.
Morlock present. Powell.
And I'm sorry? Yeah, quorum. Quorum is established. And just real quickly, and I apologize, if anybody's here on file item number 8, AB 504, Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez revolving land use planning, that measure has been pulled. So I apologize. Hopefully, if people have gotten notice, if you're listening or watching, that measure has been pulled. Okay. Any opposition? Any further support? Any further questions from the members? Yes, Senator Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Just quite a little bit of a comment, and maybe I may derive a question out of it. But, you know, in response to your response that, you know, this is a worthy tax credit, I mean, there's a lot of worthy tax credits. I mean, and I don't disagree that, you know, higher education, K through 12, preschool, anything to do with kids' education is very, very, very worthy, and we can talk about a lot of other things. But I guess the question I have, because we have other tax credits coming, and that's the committee that we're in. Should we as a committee not look at this from a much bigger perspective? And I'm supportive of yours. I'm going to be supportive of the other one as well, because they're all worthy. But we seem to be reactive instead of strategic.
That's right.
As far as what are we going to do as a state to what is the best investment in tax credits to either the public and or generate business? Should we have that conversation as a committee, you know, and then kind of create a policy? That's just me thinking out loud, you know. But what I think what's interesting about this one, it's not a direct hit to the general fund. Granted, there's a tax credit, but it's an incentive. So if you think of me, if I'm going to donate, I'm going to pick a nonprofit to get a tax credit. Now, I know it's probably a little bit higher, but just another option. That's why I'm supportive of it, because it's not a direct hit to the general fund. So I guess there's no question. There's just a comment, and I think what we should look at is look at strategically, how do we look at the bigger picture of tax credit?
You know, I couldn't agree with you more, and we had briefly discussed this in an earlier hearing. I think we should hold an informational hearing, and I think maybe as a committee we should set guidelines as to what we want to do as a policy committee and make the policy committee relevant and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's the delta that we have that we think we can do. Here's the areas we want to be involved with, and invite authors in the coming time frame to come before us and say, here's the story, and literally kind of preview these measures and do they fit within or not within the guidelines? I could not agree with you more. It's a very, very thoughtful and appropriate approach. Yeah, thank you very much.
I will echo those statements. That is music to my ears. It's a very large undertaking, but I think it has to be done. We have to have very high-level conversations about who we want to be as a state, what we want to achieve, what our goals are, and then align our entire tax code and structure around those goals. So I would love to work with all of you on that in the months and years ahead.
We have a really good conversation on SB 8 because that's exactly what that seeks to do, but that's for another day, another plug. Senator Bell.
Part and parcel of the conversation.
It's going to be a bipartisan effort. Senator Bell.
Well, I think for high-cost areas like Silicon Valley, this would really help quite a bit. In San Jose, we were shocked recently by the announcement that St. Elizabeth's was closing the preschool program in San Jose that was, I think, 110 years of history and had very, very illustrious graduates, including this senator when he was a 3-year-old. I think there are a lot of these programs that are really struggling, and anything we can do to help them financially in some way to respond to the fact that they are a huge benefit to the community. They are. There's no doubt about it. We don't have to argue that issue. We should put our tax credits where where our values are, and therefore, I think this is an appropriate measure and urge the discussion in the future.
And I also think, just to further, which I think is critically important for the legislative branch of government, Madam Leader, is to also have both houses, maybe in joint hearings, do that and try to establish some priorities rather than create unnecessary tensions and really enhance the importance of this branch of government. With that, one more question, and we'll have you close.
Just a quick comment. I just want to thank you, Madam Leader. This is a great bill because when the recession hit back in 2008, half of the daycare preschools went out of business in California. You know, I know that because in 2010, when I was looking for a preschool for my baby, it was very difficult. They're both in preschool, 4-year-old and a 2-year-old right now. But it is very, very difficult. It's expensive to maintain the regulations with it. But more importantly, though, is even just to get it open. There were so many vacancies across Orange County, and so this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I thank the committee and respectfully ask for an aye vote. I understand it's a candidate for suspense, but would really appreciate the committee's support.
We don't have suspense in this House.
You don't? Well, that's a beautiful thing.
There is no suspense. It's going.
Then I respectfully ask for an aye vote now.
Moved by the Vice Chair. Secretary, call the roll.
Hertzberg.
Aye.
Hertzberg, aye. Wynn.
Aye.
Wynn, aye. Bell. Bell, aye. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Laura. Morlock. Pavley. Yeah, 4-0.
4-0. We'll keep that open. Thank you very much, Madam Leader. Appreciate it. Excellent.
Thank you,
okay. We're going to put you at the end. Is it okay, Madam Vice Chair? Okay. Senator Mendoza, SCA 8. File item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to present SCA number 8. I would like to begin by offering amendments to be taken in the next committee should this bill get out of committee today to address the concerns raised in the analysis on page 3, comments 5, and on pages 3 and 4, comments 6. The amendments make it clear that the provisions of SCA 8 apply to charter counties as well as general law counties. In addition, the amendments clarify that the members of the Board of Supervisors in the covered counties must be elected from a district in which they live, and that the boards in these counties are subject to the statutes concerning the apportionment of the population. A mock-up has been provided to the committee members for your review, along with legislative council language. SCA 8 is a bipartisan measure that will require that any county that has too many people or more be based on the 2020 census to add a minimum 2 additional seats on the County Board of Supervisors. Currently, this will affect only 5 counties. SCA 8 addresses the question of adequate representation in large counties with large populations across the state, and affecting more than one. This will affect more than one county, obviously, and by expanding these supervisor seats for the state's largest county, it will provide an opportunity for these bodies to be more responsive and reflective of the needs of the population that they currently represent and serve. This constitutional amendment is about increasing representation and accountability in our county governments by bringing them a little bit closer to home and to the people they represent. County Board of Supervisor members carry out legislative and executive branch responsibilities for the constituents. They oversee a majority of vital services to our residents, including healthcare, public safety, traffic, social services, public works, parks, libraries, among other things. However, although elected, the number of members on this County Board of Supervisors has not changed since the creation of these County Board of Supervisors over 150 years ago, even though there's been dramatic changes in the state's population, demographics, and their increased responsibilities for services that they oversee for their constituents. These type of services require constant attention to the concerns of the constituents in the delivery of these services. Just to give you an idea, when LA County was created in 1850, the population of LA County was 3,530. Now the county has grown to 10, and we still have the same number of supervisors. If you look at other states and other counties and other states, the representation is just way different. For example, in Miami-Dade County in Florida, the population in that county is 2.6 million, and yet they have 13 commissioners for that county. In Cook County in Illinois, the population is over 5 million, and they have 17 members representing in that county. Queens County in New York, with a population of 2.3 million, it's represented by 14 members. Just to give you an idea, I would like to turn it over now to my co-author, Senator Runner, to continue.
Senator Runner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. As you know, I do not typically advocate for expanding government, although I believe SCA provides greater representation for California communities, which is why I'm a co-author here. There was actually a bill and a legislation back, I think, former Senator Runner and another Democrat got together, and it was on the ballot probably 6 or 7 years ago, and the county supervisors in the larger counties opposed it, and it did not pass. It really provides greater representation for California's community, and it's important to my district. Both my counties, San Bernardino County and LA County, you know, LA County has 2 million people per supervisor. So that means our community and the community I represent is 60 miles away from any county office when they need to get something done, and that's a long way. The extreme ratio between the constituents and supervisors can lead to alienation and lack of political responsiveness. Our communities have tried to break off from LA County before and make their own county. Of course, LA County wants our money, but they won't let us go and be our own county. Increasing the Board of Supervisors for our state most populous counties will allow great local representation. Ask for your support as amended. And again, it won't be till after the census, and it will also be, they will not expand their budget that they will have in 2021 if this comes to pass. So,
Senator Runner, why don't you do that? I mean, comment 3 in the analysis on page 3 talks about bigger boards of smaller counties. I mean, LA County with near 11 million people, and I mean, what are the, you know, I spoke with your co-author, Senator Mendoza, about this. I mean, what commonality is there with the folks in San Gabriel Valley versus the folks that you represent in the North County? I mean, if you divide, why don't you divide it into 5 counties? Why don't you make the city of Los Angeles a city and county like the city of San Francisco? I mean, it's what, $29 billion budget, and integrate the services in a way. Maybe it's time to go back and to try to figure out how to do that, you know, because you're going to get 7 members. You're still going to have the highest number of representatives on a board. It's just not workable in terms of its size.
right, it does, it's more workable than it is now, but it is difficult to get the county to agree to that because they would have to take a vote on it, and they don't want to give up our portion of the dollars that we send down to the county.
Do you know the laws on that? I mean, do you need the actual Board of Supervisors to that? Isn't just putting something on the ballot and have a vote of the people? Or do you need the action of the board? I mean, we did that in the city of Los Angeles, and there was what's called a special reorganization that we fixed in the Knox-Cortese-Hertzberg Act, and changed that so that you don't need a veto power of the local government. I don't know how, I can't recall how it relates to counties, but I just, you know, I mean, I just think if the point that Senator Mendoza made about Dade County and Cook County and New York and the number of representatives, And I think the sensitivity that you expressed in your testimony with respect to not costing folks more money is certainly the right thing. In Los Angeles area, the San Gabriel Valley has 157 elected officials on these small cities. The cost of their government's 25% less. The responsiveness of police and fire is dramatically less. San Fernando Valley that I live in is exactly the same size with the same population as the San Gabriel Valley that Senator Hernandez represents. And we have a handful of representatives, 275,000 people, and you know, he's got much better government, so they can go and grab and scream at the mayor in the supermarket. And in our world, they don't know who we are, right? Bring government closer to the people. County government provides a critically important function, and maybe it's time, given how big it is, to, you know, make sure things are protected, but look at it in a deeper way.
I think that's a great idea. I'm not disagreeing with that idea, actually, because this SCAA will actually help in that idea as well. Say the LA County does get broken up into 3 or 4 counties, well, this measure will still apply for those 4 counties that are in place, and will still provide those 7 representatives of each of those counties, but that will be a separate matter.
I mean, you know, you represent the San Gabriel Valley. It's almost 2 million people. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't disagree with you with regard to, number one, the size of the county, but comparing San Gabriel Valley to the San Fernando Valley, there's a much more responsiveness.
Much more.
Much more. But on the flip side,
even from the state senator.
I agree. But on the flip side, there's a lot more city council members, water board members, school board members that are calling me on my cell phone, you know, which that's my job to be responsive to them as well. So, no, I agree. And I also wouldn't have thought of your conversation with regard to breaking away the county of LA or breaking it up, but I think that's a much bigger, more difficult discussion.
I want to put it out there.
You know, I think this is kind of a beginning to get to that discussion and to look at having, because if you think about a board of supervisors that represents 2 million people, it's a lot of people to touch and get to, you know what I mean?
But, and quite frankly, even if you had a board of supervisors for the San Gabriel Valley, for example, that represented 2 million people, there's still each member, if there were 5, like we have across the state constitutionally, you'd still represent 400,000 you know, apiece. It's still, there's still pretty huge districts. So, Senator Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Having come from a county, our county, we're about 620,000 people. Okay. And I spoke to Senator Mendoza. We had a lengthy, productive discussion. If you want to fix LA County, have at it. Okay. The argument, I'm sorry, that I'm hearing is, oh, it's too big. Or in Orange County, it's only 620,000. We as senator represent 1 million. Should we then split the senators and add 40 more senators? To me, I get the LA County part. I mean, but putting San Bernardino, Orange County, Riverside County on the same boat, that we only represent 500,000 people, is, to me, it is so unnecessary. And the other thing is, what I've realized when I've been up here in the state for the last several months, we tend to do these bills that are always mandating local government to do X. And I mentioned this at the Board of Supervisors. If you add 2 more Senate supervisors, they'll be on the 5th floor, they'll be in the bathroom and the conference room. If not, we have to move them to another building. Financially, it doesn't make any sense for us. And the dais is only created for 5 supervisors. Now you're going to have to add 2 more supervisors, meaning we have to, actually, the Board of the Orange County, we have to go to another room. Who's going to pay for that financially? And I asked Senator Mendoza this, help, if you want me to be there, pay for it from the state. If you want us to go and decrease our numbers, I mean, increase more government, more elected officials, I don't know how the voters would approve that. You know, I think that if they can, they would get rid of all of us. You know, voters don't like what we do. They don't appreciate what we do. They think that we're unnecessary. So, you know, to me, the argument of just saying that we need more representation, then we should propose a representation of 80 senators, because 1 million people is a lot. This 4th of July, I've got 5 events in one day on 4th of July. Parades, celebration, etc. That's a lot for one senator to try to take on in one day. I have 12 cities now. I used to have 4. You know, and I'm going to do it. My kids are going with me. Starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to the Huntington Beach fireworks, 4th of July parade. Then we head to Santa Ana. And I mean, so it's, you know, so help me understand, I mean, is this a system that's broken? It's not working right now? Setting aside LA County, because LA has 2 million people, that's a lot. And I'm not an expert in LA County. I'm not going to give my opinion. I have just a sliver of LA County right now in my district, but I'm still learning, so I am not an expert, and I'm not going to make my comments there. I'm just looking at Orange County, Riverside, San Diego, and San Bernardino, because we all have similar sizes. Orange County and San Diego has similar at 3.2
answer some of
million
those questions
people.
if I can, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Thank you, Senator Nguyen. I did appreciate the opportunity we had to talk a little bit and kind of discuss his initiative early on.